Awesome. Hey everybody out there, here with Noah Glass, founder and CEO of Olo. Very excited. You guys just eclipsed what, the 55,000 unit mark, so that's super exciting. And congratulations on that. That's an incredibly amazing feat, nonetheless.
It's taken almost 14 years, so yes, it's an exciting place to be, but it didn't come quickly.
Yeah, take us back to that, actually. It'd be interesting to hear a little bit about your background before Olo, and then once you got into Olo, some of the changes you guys went through. And I'm always intrigued to hear from other entrepreneurs. What would you tell, young Noah or Noah of several years back to kind of build on that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think my story and my obsession with restaurants and technology probably starts from a young age. My mom was a cookbook author, and so food was always a big part of my life growing up. And I was really intrigued by restaurants, mainly because we didn't get to go to restaurants very much, and so it was always like a special treat to go out to a restaurant. My first couple of jobs were, the first one was a cashier at a service station, and I got a little bit of the cashier experience through that role. My second job was the more formative one, which was a pizza delivery driver.
Really?
And I think if I really trace things back to my interest in delivery and better ways of consumers placing orders and getting their food, it stems from that pizza delivery job. So
that's awesome.
I came up with some of that background, went to college and studied political science, but then focused on international development, and just really got interested in business as a result of an internship that I had in college at Shutterfly.com. And it was right in the summer of 2000. It was this amazing kind of new retail technology breakthrough of a consumer technology, digital cameras, reshaping the way that people printed photos through that retail experience. And it really opened my eyes that technology could be applied to kind of everyday retail experiences. And I think those two things, the interest in restaurants and new consumer technology trends, those were the two threads that intersected at seeing the opportunity for what became Olo really around 2003 and 4, and then launching as a company in 2005.
That's awesome how you kind of took those passions of kind of growing up in the food industry. And it's interesting because a lot of people start in food. There's a crazy stat out there where overwhelming majority of Americans start in the food industry, branching off into tech, and then kind of combining those knowledge bases to create what the company is today. I think it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think that was a really formative part of my professionalization, the having a job as a cashier at a service station, having to greet people and make change for them, and then applying that to being a pizza delivery driver. There was some of that. I remember my first boss, this is when I was 16. I mean, I'd worked jobs when I was growing up, shoveling driveways and that sort of thing. But
and
first real job.
Growing up in the Northeast.
Exactly right. Well, we're both Boston guys.
Both Boston
so,
guys. The heavy wet snow is always kind of the worst.
Yes, true. But it always felt like a good opportunity to go out and make an extra buck when everybody else was kicking their feet up for the day. But so my first real boss said this is going to be a good job. You're going to apply things that you know from your social life, making eye contact with people and inquiring about how their day is going, and that's going to become what makes you successful as a cashier at the service station. And, I like to think that was a good beginning for me, and it led to the curiosities. And back to the question about what would I advise kind of a young me or a young entrepreneur. I think not everybody has that entrepreneurial bug, but if you kind of keep having thoughts of ways that things could be better and new businesses that could improve an industry or whatever they are, you have to listen to those kind of interests and that nagging voice that says well, maybe you could start something and it could make this better. And
what was that point where you took that leap, right? Because there's always that leap point, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, so the story of Olo right before it began was I was living in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole other story about why I was there and what I was doing.
That's awesome.
I could go on for a long time about that, so I'll just say I was living there for a year in 2004, and I really saw smartphones in use while I was there. I was working for a company called Endeavor, which is a nonprofit but kind of works like a venture capital firm in emerging market countries. So I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs, some of whom were building smartphone software. And this was 3 years before iPhone was even announced by Steve Jobs in 2007. So this was very early Windows Mobile and Symbian devices. But they were building software that could be used in those devices, and I just had this epiphany that we were all going to get these smartphones, and they were going to become more than just content or communication devices, but they were going to become commerce devices. And that was like the little kernel of an idea, and then met up with some engineers to take that idea and apply it to imagine if somebody could order coffee from a mobile phone interface on what at the time was a very slow wireless application protocol, WAP protocol. But built up a little prototype, showed it to an investor. I was supposed to go and start at Harvard Business School in the fall, and he basically said, look, I've worked with you for the last year. I know that you're a go-getter. If you believe in this idea enough to quit your job and withdraw your admission to Harvard Business School to commit yourself full-time to this, I'll give you $500,000 to get the thing started. And it was this like great gift that he gave to me, not just the money, which is obviously like a really nice way to get started, but really like checking my conviction about how much did I believe in this idea.
And also believing in you, right?
Yeah.
That's a really big important thing, and having other people trust and believe in you, I think is really cool.
But I think also the like...
And rescinded from Harvard Business School, HBS, like that's not an easy task.
It's not, especially when you're from Boston and you've got a mom who likes to cook and is dying to get you home so she can cook for you and says, you're going to do what? You're not going to come?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, right? Like as you do these things, you have those opportunities. I don't know about you, but my family is like, you're going to do a start. You have this job, you have this, you're doing a startup. Do you have any of those things go on? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that was the knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people, but I feel super fortunate. My wife, who was then my girlfriend, and my parents were super supportive, and my wife became almost like our chief marketing officer for the first 6 months of the company, and a lot of the good things we did going from an idea and a prototype into a commercialized product were her ideas that I just helped to execute. And I feel really lucky that I've had that family around me that's been so supportive to actually support the business, but also be in the business to some extent.
That's awesome. And then tell us a little bit like what is Olo today?
Yeah, so today we are the largest digital ordering and delivery enablement platform for the industry. Which means that we help restaurant brands build apps and sites that let their customers order ahead, pay ahead, and get their food faster at the restaurant or get it delivered to them. We do that now for over 275 restaurant brands and 55,000 restaurants. And if you look at the public restaurant brands, just kind of as a proxy for the large enterprise segment of the market, it's over half of them that have built their digital ordering and delivery on top of the Olo platform. So brands like Applebee's and Chili's and Wingstop and Jamba Juice, Noodles and Company and Shake Shack and Sweetgreen, all of those and about 265 additional are built on top of the Olo platform. And just for scale, we did in 2018 100 million transactions through our platform, which is a big number.
Congratulations. Take a scale to that number though from engineering feet, right?
Yes,
the scalability component of that to have it be uptime and successful is remarkable.
Yeah.
So kudos off to your CTO and engineering crew.
Yeah, our CTO has been with us for over 13 years. I was one of the first engineers I started working with in Johannesburg. That's an interesting story in its own right. He moved his entire life from Johannesburg over to New York to build our engineering team in New York City. An amazing kind of commitment that he's had to the business. But yeah, he's really built up a really scalable, resilient, high-performance platform. And 100 million transactions last year, the year before 50 million, the year before that 25 million. So it's been doubling annually.
It's not a bad thing to be in as a startup.
And this year we're on track to do 200 million transactions. So it's a pretty amazing scale. And we think that's part of this bigger digital shift that's happening in the industry, where you talk to restaurant analysts and they'll say between now and 2022, the next 4 years, it will be $200 billion, 25 cents of every restaurant dollar in an $800 billion industry that is now going to be ordered through digital channels. And so that's a big transition for the industry to go through, and we want to be kind of the party that's helping the industry go through that shift, and our customers go through it successfully.
And where do you see that happening? Like, what do you see Olo's role 3 years from now in the restaurant space?
I think a lot more of it will be going through delivery than is currently. So if you look at how that number breaks down,
which is interesting, right? You talk to a lot of restaurateurs, and they know delivery is here, and
Yeah.
it's such a huge chunk now, so it's going to continue to grow. And
Yeah,
may or may not be surprising to some people out there.
Well, okay, yes and no. Yes, it's a huge chunk now, but it's only 3% of overall industry sales. And so you think about an $800 billion industry, and that's still a lot. 24 billion is a lot of money, but the fact it's only 3%, if you look at that relative to pickup and takeout, that's 39% of the industry. It's 13 times the size of delivery, which is just 3%. So I think, our mix of that sort of 13-to-1 ratio, it's more like 10-to-1 of pickup orders to delivery orders.
Right.
I think over time, delivery will make up a larger chunk of our overall, but overall, everything is growing dramatically. It's doubling annually. I think a lot of the growth is now coming from delivery, of consumers saying pickup was even faster than going to the restaurant and ordering and then waiting and then taking it out,
right,
or doing it through drive-through. But what's even more convenient than that is to not even have to go to the restaurant, but just have somebody else go pick it up for me and deliver it to me.
Especially over that winter in Boston, where
Yeah.
you don't want to get out on the road
Yes.
and have someone bring it over to you.
For sure. I hope people are tipping their drivers well, because
Yes.
that is a thankless job on those cold days.
Yeah. And question for you, what's your favorite food item from your mom's cookbook?
Ooh, the thing that I have made most of, that I've made the most recently with a 2-year-old at home, every Sunday I make the kind of innards of her lasagna recipe, which is an oven roasted vegetable lasagna. And so it's sweet potatoes and onions and carrots and red peppers and zucchini, just a little bit of olive oil, and stick it in the oven for
That sounds awesome.
35-40 minutes. And it's just like a great everyday thing to
Yeah.
feed to a 2-year-old and eat myself.
And have like a unique Sunday dinner that from the mom's recipe, which is like pretty phenomenal, right?
Yes,
Like, that's
that's
awesome.
great.
That's awesome. No, this is incredible. I really appreciate you
Thank
taking
you.
the time to chat with us today. Any other questions anyone wants to direct? How do they find Olo? If I'm a restaurateur out there and I want to really supercharge my business from a mobile ordering standpoint, or from an ordering standpoint in general, because you guys are kind of across the gamut, how do I find out about Olo? How do I sign up?
Yep.
Et cetera?
The website is pretty easy. It's olo.com, OLO.com, which is the acronym for online ordering, back when the online ordering was a new thing.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's funny, it dates the term online ordering to the same era of America Online, when online was 2 different words in an acronym, OL.
Interesting.
So it was around as a term before we were around as a company, but that's our URL, olo.com.
Except when you go to it, you won't hear the little, for those of us old enough, when you used to go on AOL, you hear the little noise
Yes.
beeping and the little running man.
That's right.
Your site will load right away.
We don't have that effect yet,
Yeah.
but it would be fun to do a little playoff on that with a guy carrying a pizza or something like that.
Yeah.
But olo.com, you can find me at noah@olo.com. That's my email address, or on Twitter, nhglass at Twitter. And we love talking to restaurants. We tend to work more with the enterprise segment of the industry, but love talking to restaurants of all shapes and sizes about how they can successfully navigate this digital shift happening in the industry and supercharge digital ordering and delivery
Where
enablement.
do you see artificial intelligence taking place in regards to ordering?
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it in a couple of different fronts. I mean, one is sort of the user interface and recommending to the consumer things that they might like based on other things that they've ordered in the past.
Yep.
And a little bit of collaborative filtering of saying, here's what you've ordered in the past, here's what other people like you have ordered, and so here's what we'd recommend that you maybe haven't tried before. I think that's a big opportunity that gets unlocked with just the data, being able to see a customer across many different dining occasions. There are other examples of AI. I think that's one that, to me, is something that you already see some of the marketplaces. Uber Eats does, I think, a really good job of that. And I think more restaurant brands are going to start to experiment with that. And I think AI has got a big future in the restaurant industry from a number of different dimensions. Certainly digital ordering and delivery enablement is one or two of those dimensions.
Awesome. No, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great to see you.